Okay, so this morning's presentation is brought to you by Julie Fortin of Bibitte Organisée, Organized Bug in English, your decluttering and organization company in the Outaouais region and Ottawa. She'll also address for Montreal because she's got contacts everywhere in Canada. Bibitte Organisée offers a unique organization and decluttering service that addresses issues such as hoarding and downsizing. So I hope you enjoy this presentation today. Julie Fortin has many certifications in this field, so she's an expert. So welcome, Julie, and it's over to you now.
Perfect. So welcome everybody. Before I share my presentation, I just wanted to welcome you to today is the International Organization Day. So this is a great opportunity to get started in organizing your space. So with that, let's start with, let me just share my screen.
We have the
There we
both.
go.
We have the both views. Okay, that's good. Okay, very well.
Perfect.
Perfect.
So let's get started in organizing basics. Now, before we get started, we need to understand what organizing is. So organizing is a process of creating systems, structures, and order within a space, your schedule, or categories of belongings so that your daily life becomes more functional, efficient, and easier to manage. So there's a couple of myths I want to debunk before we get into the strategies of how to get organized. And a lot of people believe that organized people are naturally tidy, which is not the case. Organized people have learned skills to stay organized. On their day to day, their space can still become a little bit cluttered, but they can easily put away their things when they have time to do so. So they've built those skill sets to help them stay organized down the road. Another thing too is most people think that they need storage bins, containers, shelving units. But in fact, the first thing that you need to do is really go through your things and sort your items first and decide what you want to keep, what you want to let go, or if you want to sell. And then from there, once you know what you have left, then you can go ahead and find the perfect storage bin, the container, or the shelving unit that you need to be organized. The other thing too is some people may think that I can organize within a weekend. Unfortunately, no. It takes a little bit of effort and time, and you really need to plan your space before you can go ahead and organize. So sometimes we think it's something very simple, but in fact, I can give you an example. Uh, I had in my living room a full shelving unit of different types of board games, and it took me 3 hours to organize four shelves. Sorry, not shelves, but bookcases, because I really needed to understand how I wanted to organize my space, how functional it would be, and based on that, I was able to organize. So if you think that you can organize your whole home over the weekend or even a space, um, really look at how much time and effort that's going to take you. The other thing too is if my space gets messy again, I failed. In reality, you haven't failed. You've discovered that this is not the system that works for you. Or maybe it's something that you just need a little bit of tweaking, a little change, and it'll help you to stay more organized. So look at it as a learning opportunity instead of a failure. Everything should look like everything should look magazine perfect. The magazines are there to show you how your space could look like, but it's not lived in. So what we want to do is really look at organizing your space where it's functional for you. So throw out that magazine that shows you how to properly organize. Yes, you could have a system in place that makes it look nice and pretty, but in reality, you're using your space. So there's a lot of things that you'll have that will stay on your table that will also may that will be on a side table, on your kitchen table. So you're using your space. So it's only normal that your space won't look perfect like in the magazines. The other thing too is you don't need to get rid of everything when it comes to getting organized. The purpose of getting organized is really to reflect on what do you truly use. There may be things that you've held on to over the years that maybe just in case I will need it one day. So it's really taking a look at the items that you have in your space. What do you actually use? And letting go of the things that you haven't touched or haven't had the chance to use in many years so that you keep the items that you truly want to have in your space and that you use on a daily basis or seasonally. Another myth is you're just lazy. So organizing and decluttering, it's not about laziness. It's really building the skill sets. So it's looking at what are you missing as a skill set that's preventing you from becoming organized or decluttering a specific space. Sometimes it's just you don't have the time because you've scheduled so many things in your daily schedule that you haven't you haven't allotted some time to organize or to declutter. The other thing too is doing it on your own. Yes, for some, you're able to stay organized, you can do it on your own, but when it becomes overwhelming and stressful of just thinking about decluttering and organizing, then that's when you need to reach out and ask for help. I always look at the example, in this case, I always look at the example, how many people know how to change their oil on their car? We should maybe know how to do this, but for the most part, we'll ask for help. So why not do the same thing when it comes to organizing? Organizing, waiting for your life to slow down to organize, life will always have different life events. There's always going to be something, an activity, a family event. There's always going to be something. When it comes to organizing, doing it in small steps, looking at a shelf, looking at a drawer can help to get yourself organized. You don't need to do the whole kitchen in one sitting. You can start with one drawer at a time and saying, okay, every time that I come to cook, and I'm looking for that spoon to mix, I have to dig through that drawer and I get really annoyed, then why not start with that one drawer and find ways to looking at what you truly use in that drawer and looking at the items um, that if you're not using the items as often, then you can put it in something else and only keeping the items that you use more often. So the other thing too is getting organized means staying perfectly organized forever. I can tell you as a professional organizer, this is a little secret, I am a person who's organized, but I can tell you that life events can destabilize your routine, which then makes it that your space becomes a little less organized. And I can tell you for a fact that if you come over to my place today, my garage is a mess because I'm in the process of reorganizing my space. I am decluttering my space and I'm going through all of the different things that I have. And right now, my garage is not organized, but I know that I have a time that I've scheduled in the next weeks that slowly I do one section at a time. I know exactly, I'm starting to already think of how I want to organize each area of my garage. So organizing is a daily task that you need to do. And once you have your systems in place, then putting things away becomes easier. So before you get started, the first thing I want you to do is to assess what you truly use and value in the items that you have in that space. Once you have that, then you'll be reducing the extra items and all the unnecessary items that you don't really use, or you may have, maybe it was an impulse buy. Oh, this item, I'm going to use it, um, I don't know, to make um, melon balls. So you have that little scoop that you purchased, but in reality, you've never used it since, or maybe you've used it once and you never use it again. Maybe that's an item that you can let go. The other thing too is I want you to start visualizing and imagining what you want to do with your space. So looking at, uh, I'm going back to the kitchen because most people have a kitchen in their homes or in this space. And looking at when you're cooking, do you have the utensils easily accessible when you're cooking on the stove? When you want to take a glass of water, is it well positioned that it's close to the fridge or maybe it's close to the sink? Maybe it's just deciding that you just need to move things in a different cupboard so it's more accessible. So I had a client who had a really hard time emptying their dishwasher because the cupboard that had the dishes was right above the dishwasher and they didn't have the space to stand beside. So every time that they wanted to put something away, it was very difficult. So looking at their space, we decided to just change and move their plates to the cupboard that was on the other side of the dishwasher. So when they were facing the dishwasher, they could easily take the dishes and then put it in the cupboard so that for them, emptying the dishwasher became easy. They enjoyed emptying the dishwasher. So sometimes it's just looking at how can you adapt your using your space that you have and adapt where you want to put your items so that it becomes more functional. The moment that you make your space more functional, then you enjoy doing those tasks that before you may not enjoy. The other thing too is creating a practical system that's sustainable for you, for your reality, your routine. So here I had a client that she really wanted to have her magazines like in the organizing magazines. She wanted them in a magazine holder in her library so that it would look nice and neat. But the one thing I noticed is that her habits was while she was reading her magazines, she would always drop it. She had a pile of magazines beside her chair. So one of the things that instead of creating that system that for her wouldn't have been sustainable of putting things in her library, what we did was we instead put a nice basket beside her chair. And when she was done, she would just drop the magazine in the basket. So afterwards, when she noticed that the basket was overflowing, that's when her habit was to go back to that, go through what she had in her basket, the ones she really wanted to keep, then she would put it in that magazine holder in her library, and she would be able to sort through and recycle the ones she didn't want so that that was part of her organizing routine. So now, to discover what type of organizing system that you need, what's your organizing style? So, who are you when you come to organize? Are you a person that loves the openness? So, you prefer to have easy to use systems that you can see. So, this is a person that needs to see everything visually. Nothing behind cupboards. If they have something in a cupboard, they forget that it exists. You want something visual. In that case, you want to have something that is an open concept where you have open shelves and you can see all of your items. Then you have the organizing style balanced, where you prefer to see your everyday used items only in a detailed way, which, let me explain. For the balanced one, they like to have their everyday use items easily accessible and visually, um, where they can visually see them. And the rest, they want to have the items behind cupboards. They don't want to see every single item. So they only want to keep the items that they use the most. So I'll give you an example. In my kitchen, the only thing I want to see, which I use every day, is my kettle. The toaster, I have it in a cupboard. When I need it, I take it out. And then when I'm done, I put it away. I have a couple of things that I love to keep out on my bathroom counters that I use every day. And the rest, I don't want to see it. I put them in drawers, I put them in cupboards. So, are you a balanced person? Then the next style is the calm. Calm is a person when it comes to organizing, they don't want to see nothing. It's almost like you're a minimalist. You enjoy seeing very little items on your desk, on your counters, on your kitchen table. You really want to see almost nothing, where you want to keep it as simple as possible. Everything is out of sight for you, and for you, that space is calming. Then you have the organizing style that is adaptive. This one here is a person that can use any of these three systems at any given time, and they may have stuff that is out. They may have stuff that they don't want to see. They may have rooms, specific rooms that everything is out of sight, but then they have certain rooms that they only want to see the essentials. So this is a person that can adapt to any type of situation. They may have areas in their home, we'll say in their garage, they may have all their tools that they want to see, but then in their kitchen, they don't want to see anything at all. And they want to keep it very simple. So you may be a person that does a little bit of all three, almost like a chameleon. Now, looking at the strategies. So, one thing that you want to do is to avoid organizing your entire home or space all at once. You really want to start small. So, one drawer, one shelf, it could be one category. Going through, and when I'm talking about one category, I don't mean going through the entire stack of papers that you have. It could be saying, I want to focus on my papers, but taking a small basket, putting about, I don't know, couple of inches or so, a stack, you go through those papers and you sort through. It could be saying, I just want to look at my clothes. Start looking at your clothes. And if you have way too much clothes, then simplify that, saying, I just want to look at my pants or my dress shirts, or like really narrowing it down so that organizing doesn't have to be very complex, keeping it very simple, and using in your schedule, adding, 15, 20 minutes of while you're waiting for your meal to bake in the oven, you can easily say, okay, I'm going to take a few minutes to look at what I have in this cupboard, and you do one shelf. Um, so these are ways to get yourself organized without feeling overwhelmed. And before you can get organized, you need to declutter the space. You need to understand what you want to keep and what are some of the items that you no longer need. Then you want to, this one I think is probably the most important one for the strategy in organizing. It's to visualize how you want to use the room or how do you want to use the space. When it comes to I was talking about my garage, where right now my garage is probably it's probably the messiest it's ever been. But I'm already starting to visualize, okay, on this wall, I'm going to hang all of I have a couple of rakes, I have some shovels, I have my gardening tools. And so I'm already starting to visualize how I want to set up my pegboard that I already have so that I can incorporate all of the different tools that I have. And then there's another corner of my garage that this one's already been organized where I visualized and I said, okay, this corner, I wanted to have all of my organizing and decluttering um, tools that I use when I go to people's homes to help them declutter. I have now a section only dedicated for that. Then the middle part is kind of my miscellaneous that I'm already visualizing that I have a spot where if I need to cut some wood and some of the smaller projects around the home that I do, I'm already visualizing that I need to put wheels on this so that I can move it around so I can make more space. And I'm already looking at, okay, I want my paint stuff here. I want my gardening stuff here. I want all the stuff that has to do with my vehicle. I want to put it in this area, but I haven't bought anything yet. I'm just visualizing, okay, what do I have? So right now, my garage may be messy, but I know that it's a process, right? So I'm looking at, okay, what do I need to do once I've sorted everything? And then I look at what I have left. Does it fit the space that I have? Do I need to buy a shelving unit? Do I need to buy containers? How do I want to have my space looked? Like, what's the look that I'm looking for? Are there things that I can put in a closed container and I know exactly what's in it? Do I want one that is clear so that I can easily see that these are, I don't know, my cleaning products for my car? So really start to visualize how you want to use the room. Create easy access systems. So when we're talking about the easy access systems, it's really looking at your everyday items. If you're using that pot every day, then don't put it in the back of the cupboard. Put it closer, more easily accessible. I'm thinking about um, I'm trying to think of the word in English. It's not the pantry that's in the kitchen, but in your hallway where you're going to keep all your towels, your sheets, and so you want to create something easily accessible. So what are the things that you use more on a daily basis or on a weekly basis? Well, for me, I want easy access to my towels. Bed sheets, not as much because once I change my bed sheets, I don't need to have it where I can grab easily. Extra blankets. Those you may not need to have easy access. So you're going to maybe put those on top shelf or on the bottom shelf. So really thinking of the items that you use every day. You have that in your kitchen, in your closet, um, in the pantry. You really want to have things that your real estate property is where it's from your eyes to your waist and looking at that's pretty much the space where things that need to be easily accessible, that's where you want to put your systems in place for the items that you use the most. Things you use less, like Christmas decorations, you may want to put that on a top shelf or you want to put that in the back of a closet because you don't use it every day. Um, One important thing to note, however, is never put anything heavy above your shoulders because this will prevent any potential injuries. The example I use, and I don't think anybody has a bowling ball anymore, but if you were a bowler and you had your bowling ball, you wouldn't put the bowling ball on the top shelf for fear of injury. When you come to pull it down, if it slips, you may injure yourself. So your bowling ball you would put on the bottom, one of the bottom shelves. So the
Excuse
heavier.
excuse me, Julie, could you restart your camera? I inadvertently okay. Yeah.
We see
Oh,
your presentation, but not
Uh,
your face.
we want to see your face.
oh, okay.
I tried to do it, but it didn't work. Thank you very much.
Okay, sorry.
Sorry.
Um, so yeah, so you want to put the items that are heavier on the bottom and the lighter things on the top shelf to prevent injuries. So the um, the next thing is organizing based on frequency use. I've already talked about it a little bit. So the more that you use an item, you want to have those more accessible. So you don't want to always having to reach in the back of a cupboard every time that you want to use, I don't know, the salt shaker. If something that you use more frequently, you want to keep it on the side of the cupboard. Um, so these are some of the things to think about when you're organizing your space. Another thing is giving everything a home. So one of the items that I often get asked, for those that have an extra small toolbox, oftentimes I get asked, where do I need to keep that? Well, the question that you should be asking is, how often do you use it? So when you do need, I don't know, that screwdriver or that measuring tape or that hammer, how often do you have to reach in and get one of these items? Some people may keep it under their sink, their kitchen sink. Some people may keep it in their front closet. Some people may keep it in the back of a closet. So it really depends on how often. So really thinking of, where does this item fit in my home? Once you give it a home, then once you use it, it's easy to put it back where it belongs. So that the organizing part, once you have that figured out and you have your organizing system, then when your space does become cluttered, it's easier to put things away. So instead of taking an hour to put things away, it may take you 15 minutes. So you're saving a lot of time and stress. And you can easily know, oh, it's not in where it's supposed to be. Where did I use it last? Oh, yes, right. I took out the hammer and I hung a frame and I forgot to put it where it belongs. Then you can easily find which items you haven't put back. Reducing the visual clutter. So I know here, depending on your organizing style, you may say, oh, no, I want to see everything. But I would say that a good portion of the population a good portion of the population is where they want to see certain things, but not everything. So if you're a person that wants to see everything, then you fall in a small percentage of the population. But for the most, you want to reduce the visual clutter because it does add that subconscious stress on your mind, and which then reduces the amount of energy in your day. So if you come into a room and you can already feel your shoulders going, where you already feel discouraged, it's because you have too much visual clutter. You don't feel like it's a serene space that you're walking into. And this is one of the telltale signs that you need to look at decluttering the space and organizing it. And then we have build maintenance into your routine. So once you have your organizing system in place, then it's to build the routine of putting things away. One of the things that I do to help me wash the dishes is, when I start preparing my meals, what I do is, if I have any dishes that haven't been washed the night before, I start washing my dishes. When I get to the main part where I need to really focus on cooking, then I stop doing dishes and I continue cooking my meal. Once my meal is ready, I go ahead and I eat my meal, and then Once I'm done, I already have the water ready to go. I can just go ahead and wash the rest of the dishes, and then my dishes are done. So for me, it's adding that routine so that it doesn't become a chore. It's just part of my day-to-day routine. Using containers as limits. So when we're talking about those limits is to clothes is a good example where you have a closet, you have your dressers. Once the clothes start to pile outside of the spaces that you have, then that's when you know that you need to go through them. Containers are really good to understanding, not containers, but the limits that you put in place. So a good example is for books. How many people have bookshelves in their home and they have books that are starting to pile outside of the bookshelf, or they're trying to jam as many books as possible on top of books? So your bookshelf is your limit of how many books you have. So once it starts to overflow, that's when you need to say, okay, I need to take some time to declutter and let go of the ones I really don't read. If you go through that process and you still need that extra bookshelf, then go ahead and buy that bookshelf. But try to minimize the containers, the extra shelving units, because then that could lead to a cluttered space by just adding and adding and adding. Be realistic about your energy and lifestyle. When you come to organize, look at when's the best time for you to organize. Do I have the most energy in the morning? Or, you know what? I need to wake up and my flow of energy is right after lunch or right before lunch. So really looking at when your highest peak of energy is and using that time to declutter and organize because you'll be more motivated to do it. Looking also at your lifestyle. How many activities do you have? Do you have a fully booked calendar? Every day you have so many activities that you don't allow yourself time to declutter and organize. So maybe it's looking at your schedule and really thinking about, okay, I really want to organize. So what does that mean? Okay, I'm going to have to miss my swimming session today because I want to take that 2 hours to organize. Or it's maybe saying no and saying, you know what, I can't go out for tea today or to meet up for coffee. I really need to get this done. Focus on the function first. So really looking at how can I transform my space so that it becomes functional? Because if it's not functional, you're not going to use it. This is one thing that I've noticed time and time again. People have reached out to professional organizers, and yes, they organize the space, but then when they call me in, they say, okay, well, I already had somebody else come in. They've organized my space, but it's still cluttered again. Well, it's because you're organizing based on being organized, but not on being functionally organized. So really looking at how do you use your space and looking back at the example I gave you about the magazines beside this chair. That was a functional organizing. So really thinking of how do you use your space and how does that become functional for you. And effective organizing is not about perfection. I know you probably have seen those magazines that show you the perfect, everything is placed, everything has a home. It's not about perfection. It's about being functional. So it's about improving functionality, reducing your stress, saving time, and making spaces easy to maintain over the course of time. So really remember that it's always an ongoing process. Are there any questions?
Okay, we have a few questions in the chat. There was one person who mentioned, and I'm trying. Okay, I've got the I've got the message. So I'm ready to declutter. My spouse isn't and will never be suggestions. That is a good one.
Well, I would say you need couples therapy. No, I'm just kidding. So in that case, when one person is ready but not the other, then focus on your stuff in the space first. Because organizing or decluttering somebody else's things, they need to be ready to do it. So I would start focusing on your own personal stuff, and then maybe they'll see that, if you by decluttering your stuff, you may start to feel less stress. You may look and feel happier, so that maybe it'll motivate them to start organizing. So I would just say, hey, you know what? I really have, and this is a trick that I've used on many occasions. Um, in my personal life where sometimes I would just hint at organizing, where uh, you may need to use, and I'm going to use um, the hammer example, where, okay, I was looking for the hammer, I couldn't find it. Can we take a look at how we keep the how we organize the tools to see so that next time when I need the hammer, I can easily find it. So I think it would be easing into it, not saying, hey, you need to organize this, but more of looking at how can we better the space together. And maybe with using that approach, um, would be one of the the ideal strategies to use first.
Mm-hmm. We have a comment about, and I'm trying to find it just a second. There's a few. Somebody made a comment about the heavy items above your shoulders. So
Mhm.
the person was saying that one thing she hates is the fact that the microwave is above the stove, and reaching for a heated item in the microwave, especially over a pot of steaming food or on the stove, is also hazardous. So
Yes.
it's space efficient, but not safe.
Yeah, so in that case, I don't know the full situation. Like, I don't know if you're renting or if you're owning the space. That would be something to look at to change the location of that microwave, because not only, and you've mentioned it, not only is um, you have to reach above your shoulders to grab something from the microwave, but you're also putting yourself at risk if you're boiling something and you're reaching above. That steam can actually burn your arms. So I would highly recommend that you relocate that microwave if you can.
Yes, and somebody else wrote in that they had their kitchen remodeled, and they built the microwave shelf under the counter, which is much easier to lift items and much safer. Yeah. I've
Yes.
seen, I think it was a tendency at some point to have the microwave above, but now I've seen them more in
Mhm.
houses below the counter. So makes sense.
Well, it's like right now my microwave is driving me crazy because it's on my counter, and that's one item that if I want to clear my counter space, and that's one thing that when I come to renovate my kitchen, I'm going to find a spot for the microwave, whether it's um right on a shelf where it's at right at my shoulder so that I can grab the item, or just under the counter. But the only challenge that I see with the under the counter is that as you're aging, bending over is a little bit more difficult. So just keep that in mind as well when you're choosing the location. But definitely it's easier to lift than to grab and then
Right.
potentially drop.
Yep. Thank you very much. Someone else wrote, how do you responsibly dispose of things like socks with holes and other damaged clothing that that cannot be donated?
So there are, and I'd have to double check if they still take used clothing. I know that in Gatineau, there's an area that they recycle clothing. I'd have to double check in Ottawa. I know Montreal does have different companies. I'd have to ask some of the organizers there, but there are companies that will take and recycle used clothing that you can't give um, to secondhand stores. I would
Mhm.
also reach out to some of those bigger secondhand store, like I know that Renaissance that is located in Montreal and in Gatineau, they do recycle clothing. So you can drop off things that is not resellable and they will recycle it. So um, I'd have to take a look to see what's still available in Ottawa. But there are companies that do recycle the clothing so it doesn't go into the landfills.
Right. Another comment, I also heard by a professional that if you can put away something within 30 seconds, then do it right away instead of waiting or ignoring it.
Yeah, so it's easier to say, oh, I'll do it later. So, yes, indeed, if it's something that can take you 30 seconds, less than a minute to put something away, then do it now. Because the more that you wait, the more that you're piling on those 30-second things to do. And then it may add to an hour of your time that you have to take every Saturday morning or on a Thursday afternoon, whichever day that you dedicate to picking things up. Um, I also have a little trick too that I do is if I have anything that needs to go back into the garage, which my garage is down the stairs, I put the items in the staircase. And every time I need to go down, I just take those items and I go put them away so that I have a dedicated time um, that I take that extra 30 seconds to go put all the items away. And same thing, if I'm in the basement or if I'm in the garage and I find something that needs to go back in the house, I will put it at the bottom of the stairs. And next time that I go back up, I take the items and I go put them away. So these are some of the tricks. If you don't have the time to do it right away, then I would say dropping it in the space that it needs to go, but then you need to dedicate a time at the end of your day to put things away. So sometimes my schedule is pretty heavy. I may not have time to put away all of the stuff that I don't know. Sometimes when I come home, I take off my jewelry and I put it on the counter instead of putting it where it needs to go. I will hurry up and just drop it in the bathroom because that's where I store my jewelry. And but at the end of the night, I will put everything away that is in the bathroom so that when I wake up in the morning, I feel refreshed. I don't feel stressed because my space is clear of clutter.
Yeah. Oh, everything sounds very familiar with habits that we have. So
Keep it keep
it's
it
so
simple.
relevant.
It's keep it simple. Do it like small steps. Keep it simple. If don't overcomplicate your organizing systems. You want to be able to find things easily and access it easily. Things that you don't use very often, put them in the back of a put them in the back of a cupboard. Or I know that some of you may do when you have family that comes over for different holidays. You may just use that specific cutlery or that specific pot for whichever what you're cooking, put that in the back of your cupboard. Only keep the stuff that you use often close by so that it's easy.
Mhm. Um, we had a few comments about places where to do drop-off. So Value Village takes rag to recycle. H&M at Place d'Orléans take used recycled clothing. They have a
Mm,
bin. Um,
okay.
and garment recycling at HM. Okay, H&M. What else we have? We have thank you for all the suggestions. So that's great. In Ottawa, if you have usable clothing or household items you want to get rid of, there's an organization called Épingle à Linge, probably the clothespin located at Saint Laurent Boulevard at the Old Rideau High School. They give away the stuff to families in need. They do not sell, so that's good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, somebody else asked suggestions for best places to donate clothing. So that's Susie. So Susie, in the chat, there are a few places mentioned. So if you are missing them, you can always watch the recording. So do we have any more questions? We have a few minutes left. You may raise your hand or put it in the chat as you wish. Anybody else would like to ask questions? So I'm not seeing any raised hands. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody. Again, a reminder that we'll be sending out an email with, we've got a hand raised. Monique Delille.
Yeah, sorry. This is just a funny question. Julie was talking about, sorry, my camera's off. Julie was talking about reorganizing your garage.
Oh.
I just have a quick question, funny question. Is there any space for your vehicle in your garage?
Everybody's frozen.
Oh.
No, I've heard her, Julie. She's asking if you have a vehicle in your garage, because when you made the comment about organizing your garage, there she is. We see her now. Monique. Hello, Monique.
Hi.
So you want to know if she stores her, like, puts her car in the garage?
Does she have space for her car in the garage?
So I have a double car garage.
Okay.
And I do not store my car in the garage because my vehicle technically does fit, but the antenna would break off of my SUV. So yes, so if you have a garage and you store your vehicle in the garage, I would say the best time to start organizing and decluttering your garage is at this time of year so that you don't have to take off the snow off your vehicle. This is why oftentimes we'll say spring cleaning, because you open the windows, you're able to, take things outside if you need to that extra space. But if you do have a garage, then yeah, it would be springtime. But no, I don't store my vehicle in the garage. I wish I could, so I don't have to clear off the snow, but
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a few more here, questions.
Oh,
somebody asked how they can obtain a consultation and how, and is it an appointment that they can have on the short time frame?
so consultations to come and see the space, there's no cost to it. And it usually lasts between 45 minutes and an hour, depending on the size of the space. And do I have time right now? Right now, I do have some availabilities. I do need to follow up with some of the clients because I had some technical issues with my email. So if you did send me a request through my website, it's now been fixed. So I'm still catching up on those emails. I prefer to do in person if possible to do the consultation, because then I can see the space, I can see how much stuff are we talking about. For those of you that are in the Montreal region, you can reach out to me and I can refer you to a professional organizer in that area. There's quite a few. And depending what type of organizing, if you have ADHD, if you have some of those, if you're living with ADHD, if you're living with a hoarding disorder or any of those, please reach out. I do have some contacts in the Montreal region to help you out. I would love to go to Montreal, but it would be my travel fees may not be in your budget, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm just quickly going through.
So Lynn, there is somebody that's raising her hand physically and not on the.
Yep. You can ask.
Hi, I'm just wondering if you are going to make the chat available because there's a lot of good information in that.
Yes, somebody else asked. So if it's, yes, we can include the chat.
Okay, I know there's a way to copy it, but I can't seem to make it. Maybe
we'll
turn that off. I can't seem to make that happen.
We'll take care of that.
Okay, Sandra. Awesome, because there's lots of great info there, and
yes,
appreciate
true.
That. Thank you.
True. Okay. Somebody else wrote.
Anybody here? Can anyone hear me?
Yes. And who is this?
Oh, Sandra, I've been trying to raise my hand and sending messages, but it doesn't seem to be seen.
I was just getting to your message about the lists. You were next.
Okay.
Well, because I'm monitoring, there's a lot in the chat. So yes, is that what you want to ask about? How to organize all your lists and keep it in one place?
I just wanted to say half of this I missed because it kept cutting out and finally it came back and all that. And I wanted to just ask, I have a habit because of remembering everything to do of writing lists, but now they're getting to be like too many lists. And I tried just putting all in one book, and it's an organizing problem, I think, and it's a habit. So do you have help for that kind of?
Okay, we're having trouble hearing you a bit. So what did you say in the end? You want some suggestions of what to do with your list, to manage your lists?
Yes, and I think I need help because it's really a habit and it's affecting my life, like to get things done.
Okay.
So I don't know if she has any kind of work she does with people for that type thing.
Oh, I'm sure she does. She's very experienced and has, I'm sure, faced all kinds of situations. So what I would advise, Sandra, is to contact Julie directly. We'll have her coordinates in the follow-up email. So feel free to call her and you can sort it out how she can best help you. Julie, I mean, I've been on the social networks and I see Julie often being recommended as such a great helper.
Okay.
So is
any,
that okay?
Any quick advice before, just to get me through before she goes?
So
okay.
I could give you a quick advice for your list because with I currently live with ADHD. So oftentimes when I have a to-do list, my to-do lists are now on like 10 post-its, and then I try to retranscribe those into one list, and then somehow I still have a to-do list that is kind of scattered. So what I've done is I have a master list that I stick to the wall. And then from there, I just add on. So it's one localized area, which helps me a lot. And the other thing too is I put it by priority as well. So all of the to-do list of things to do, like what's more urgent, I put it in, like I have a quadrant when it comes to managing my tasks where it's urgent, needs to be done now. It's urgent, but it's not a priority. It's a low priority. And then the other one is low priority, but needs a little bit more attention. So I use that to help me out. And that could be a good start so that you have one visual somewhere. I prefer to use a erasable, dry erase list so that it's not necessarily paper, and then you have it in one spot. You add, if you have to write it down somewhere because I don't know, you went to your doctors and said, okay, well, I recommend you take vitamin C, and then you're like, okay, I have to buy vitamin C. Write it down when you get home, add it to the list. And then once a day, I usually do my planning. Sometimes it's by week and say, okay, what can I get done this week? And then I go through what my priorities are.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, it does. It does. Thank you.
Great.
I'm glad to hear I'm not the only.
I'm sorry, Sandra, you're cutting off. We still don't hear you.
No, I think she says that she's glad that she's not the only one.
Oh, no, of course not.
And you should see sometimes my desk, it was getting like, I had to-do list everywhere, and I'm like, okay, I don't know what's my priority. So I had to look at a better system for myself. Some people have color coding. I just like my to-do list to say, okay, what's urgent? And a whiteboard is really great. If you can set one up on your wall, then you can do the quadrants. You can even put, I have somebody who used Post-its, different colored Post-its based on their priorities. And then once they're done, they can just rip off the Post-it. But yeah, there's different techniques based on what works.
I'll share what I do. It's pretty basic, but I have, because Thank
You're
you, Sandra.
welcome, Sandra.
What I do personally is because I had lists, individual paper lists, and then, would throw them out, but sometimes I like to keep a history of, what I've done. And if I want to look back, did I do it? So basically I just buy one of those, little books, paper books like Hilroy for the kids, for school. And so that's my only place where I note everything. And what's priority, I put a star next to it. Once it's done, I cross it out and I go day by day. And that way I have a record of everything that's, So anyway, that's my way of doing it. Very, very basic.
And I think that scratching off something off your to-do list is very satisfying for me anyways.
Yes, it is. And then it's your day and you see everything you've done. Oh my God, so.
And it could be as simple as taking out the trash. You put it on your list. I need to take out the trash. I need to empty the cat litter, and then you just cross it out so that sometimes if you feel like you haven't progressed on accomplishing something, it actually motivates you because you're like, okay, well, why didn't I get this done? Okay, well, what did you do in your day? Well, I emptied the dishwasher. I cleaned the litter. I walked the dogs. I emptied the garbage, did a load of laundry, folded the laundry, put it like, and then you look at your list, you're like, well, that's why I didn't get to, I don't know, putting away my clothes or doing something else because you did quite a lot in your day.
Mm-hmm. So I'm just because we're already. What? Sorry. Yes. Go ahead, Sandra.
Can I add one more point that's kind of making my life a bit miserable? Is I have these nice big agendas, and I can almost write like a diary, important things I need. And then I have many from over the years because some of the things I never got to take note in a better place. And so I'm afraid to throw them out. So I've got all these books in my big cabinet that I never got around to checking over and changing dates or changing information or adding it to another book where I'm supposed to keep everything organized, like say medical or whatever, but it's not organized because then did I update it, on time? Was I in a hurry? So it's just like a vicious circle kind of thing.
Okay.
Again, we're going to have to stop because we're going to have many more questions. I'm sorry, Sandra, but perhaps, like I said, you can contact Julie directly, and I've got some more questions and comments. Yes, just because we'll need to wrap this up. And there's some great things in the conversation. People even respond to others. So I'll share all the chat information, so you may look through that. And if you need more information, just contact Julie, and it'll be her pleasure. Some people have asked Julie about what happens after the consultation. So if you just want to comment on that note, because I've had a few questions about that, and then we'll close in. And I just want to say thank you to Julie for all these tips and tricks and useful information. And I want to thank everybody for participating in this webinar. And please fill the evaluation questionnaire that we'll be sending, because we always want to improve. And we are so happy to collaborate with the Ottawa branch as well, and Julie services on both sides of the river. So you're welcome to contact her. So let's wrap up, Julie, with what happens after the consultation.
So after the consultation, then there's a few different things that I do. If you want an estimation, I can provide an estimation. I'm not a big fan of it because there's too many variables, but I can give you an approximate amount of how much time it would take to declutter and organize. And depending on what you're looking for, after the evaluation, it could be as simple as, okay, I just need to have like a plan that, what are some of my priorities, and kind of a beginning of a plan, and which is less costly than an in-person session. But if you, after the consultation, then it'll depend on what your expectation is, what your requirement is, what your budget is. And then if you want to go ahead with my services, usually it's a minimum of 3 hours to do an in-person session. And depending on if you want just a one-on-one or if you want a team effort, then the price varies based on that. But these are things that we talk about in the consultation. And one thing that I do ask for the consultation is don't try to clean up before I show up. People have a tendency of, oh no, she's coming over. Like, I don't want to see her. Like, no, I really need to see how your space is, because then that helps me to really observe, okay, like I noticed this or I noticed that. So if you're cleaning up, it doesn't tell me. Some people have done that in the past and they're like, okay, I need your help. And then they cleaned up. I'm like, and then they tell me, oh, it's worse than that when you came. It's really hard for me to know what the challenge is with your space if you've picked up and you've cleaned up before I arrived. So, and last point, don't be afraid to reach out. I think it's very courageous for people when they reach out, because I know that asking for help is a sign of courage and not a sign of weakness. So just remember that.
Correct. Again, thank you very much. We've had many thanks in the chat. So I wish you all a great afternoon. Enjoy the nice weather, and just keep in touch to follow our activities. We'll have another webinar in June. Details are to follow. And again, thank you for participating. Have a great day, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Merci beaucoup.
Thanks for having me. De rien.